It was a warm evening at the Veterans Hall, the kind of night where pride and nostalgia hung in the air like a tangible scent. I walked in, dressed neatly, my uniform crisp, every medal polished, my posture straight, trying to embody the discipline I had spent years building. And yet, underneath it all, my stomach churned. My dad had called earlier, his voice dripping with mockery, a grin I could hear even over the phone. "A soldier can't sing. You'll embarrass yourself." I tried to laugh it off, told him I could handle it, but his words lingered, curling into my mind like smoke. The thing about family is that their laughter cuts deeper than strangers. His joke wasn't harmless. It was a test, a challenge, and the weight of expectation bore down on me more than a uniform ever had. When I arrived at the gala, the hall was alive with chatter, applause, and the quiet clinking of glasses. Veterans, their families, local officials, all there to honor service and sacrifice. I scanned the room, hoping to find a friendly face, but everyone seemed engaged in their own conversations, leaving me alone with the hum of my anxiety. My dad appeared shortly after, his presence impossible to ignore. He waved cheerfully, pretending nothing had happened, but the shadow of that earlier mockery hung over us like a storm cloud. "Ready?" he asked, voice light, almost teasing. I nodded, gripping the sheet music I had brought, hoping my trembling hands would hold steady. The announcer called my name, and a wave of nervous energy hit me like a wall. The hall went quiet, all eyes on me, the very center of attention I had never sought. I stepped forward, forced a polite smile, and lifted my eyes to the crowd. My dad's gaze met mine, smug, amused, as if he were watching a slow-motion scene he'd scripted for his own amusement. I opened my mouth, and the first note came out shakier than I expected. A few murmurs, a polite cough here and there, and my confidence faltered. I had trained for combat, for strategy, for life-and-death decisions, but standing here singing before people who had fought battles themselves felt like stepping onto a battlefield I wasn't equipped for. Then, something shifted. A veteran in the front row leaned forward, eyes bright, listening intently. I realized I wasn't just performing for the crowd, or even for my dad. I was performing for myself, for every moment I had doubted, for every silent fear I had tucked away under the weight of duty and expectation. I took a deep breath and let the next note flow, clearer this time, firmer. The music carried me, a fragile bridge over the chasm of embarrassment, and I began to find rhythm, to feel the melody resonate with the memories I had buried. My dad's smirk faltered slightly, and I saw it, a flicker of surprise, maybe even pride, hidden behind the mask of his joke. He hadn't expected me to rise to the challenge, to turn his ridicule into a quiet, undeniable triumph. Every note I sang was a refusal, a subtle reclaiming of dignity, an unspoken message that his laughter couldn't define me. By the chorus, the crowd had leaned in, some whispering to one another, others nodding along, and I realized I was no longer singing to prove anything to him. I was singing for the veterans, for the stories of courage etched into their faces, for the moments of quiet bravery that no medal could ever measure. My voice grew stronger, resonant, carrying over the hall with a clarity that surprised even me. The last verse approached, and the nerves returned, stronger than before, but so did the resolve. I finished the final note, and there was a heartbeat of silence, a pause so heavy it felt like the room itself was holding its breath. Then a ripple of applause, soft at first, then swelling, genuine, warm. Faces lit with smiles, veterans clapping, a few wiping eyes, and I realized the victory wasn't in silencing my dad or in proving him wrong, but in finding my own voice unfiltered, unapologetic, unshaken. After the performance, I stepped off the stage, shaking but exhilarated. My dad approached, hesitant, his usual confidence replaced by an almost awkward respect. "That wasn't bad," he muttered. The words were few, but I heard them clearly, felt their weight. He hadn't expected me to sing like that, to take the challenge and turn it into something bigger than his joke. Later, in the quiet of the night, as the gala wound down and the hall emptied, I thought about the irony. He had tried to mock me, to force me into a spotlight that would humiliate, and instead, I had turned it into a moment of revelation, not just for him, but for myself. I had confronted the fear, embraced the vulnerability, and discovered strength in the very act he had meant to ridicule. I realized then that mockery often carries a hidden gift, the opportunity to rise above, to transform doubt into courage. That night, I found a voice I didn't know I had. It wasn't just singing. It was defiance, resilience, and the quiet power of self-belief. My dad's laughter no longer held sway over me. The applause, the respect, the moment of personal triumph. Those were mine and mine alone. I left the hall later, walking under the cool night sky. The echoes of music still lingering. A reminder that even in the face of mockery, ridicule, or doubt, one can reclaim dignity, one note at a time. The joke had been his, but the victory, my own.